Oh, nobody can hear me. Look at that. That's awkward because my mic was off here, but not on Discord. In the card I was gonna put in earlier today, I almost called you my side piece because my wife was supposed to be on a business trip. She's actually on her way home now because, like I told you, her flight was canceled. So I guess I'm glad that I didn't do that because I didn't need her to come home to find me with the other chick. But how you
Yeah, the
doing
side
tonight?
piece.
Side piece with the other
I'm
one.
good, man. I was gonna say, I was like, when I told you, like, hey, we need to like collab, it's like, because I need you to like help either talk me off the ledge or defend this with like your cool head. But also, I was like, kind of missed him, but I can't say that because it's gonna sound weird.
You know, a few people, somebody had messaged me on Discord today about you, and you're like, oh, you guys have to do something again. He's like unhinged and he's going off the rails and he needs your cool head. And I was like, well, we're doing something tonight. So
Yeah.
I guess it just worked out that that you started to hit that now, and the plan worked out as it was. I know you had some hot takes to share with me, and I've begged you not to tell me them because I want to tell you that you're an idiot publicly,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Not just
As
through
as
Discord.
as, as is your right.
But before we do that, because we've just started, people are kind of like bringing themselves in. Do you have anything else that you would like to chat about before we get going into the hot topics?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking like with what is your thoughts with Quiggled? Because I need to do a video tomorrow morning before he's out because I have an idea of what I'm gonna tell people is you're just gonna have to, like, if you really want to be safe, I feel like you're just gonna have to take every single pirate to 58 of 65 by the end of the marquee event, because
That's so
I
much.
know
But
my luck.
why? Why? That sounds like so dumb. I
It's
understand.
like,
I
but I
understand why
guess,
you want to. I just
yeah, I it's one of these things where I'm like, I feel like that's the only thing I can recommend, because
well,
knowing my luck, I will get the one guy I choose to not take to that level is who the shards I'll get, and then you're gonna spend anyway.
so why wouldn't you just? Because every time these marquees come out, they always release the old packs for the marquees. They don't release the surge packs. Why wouldn't you just buy one more 12.99 pack for Captain Athano?
Um, Honestly, because I'm debating if I should just go to the 5-star tier for these guys, just because like I I was really close with Atano, and I was
Okay.
like, not worth it. I'm gonna get the Era battle, and like everything's fine and good. And then I'm staring at like my Dark Side clone troopers,
Okay.
and I'm staring at like Depa, and I'm like, I buy the episode pass. I'm getting 20 already. I've got like 17,000 crystals. There's a part of me where it's just like I should do it just because I can. Like it doesn't matter.
I I mean, it just it's so much. It's so many resources, and I personally don't see the upside. Yes, there's going to be Smugglers Run 3, which is seemingly, hopefully, going to be insane and very helpful to us. Um,
Yes.
but it just seems like so much effort and so many resources when we're already hurting for resources, if that makes sense.
I just don't know what else. It's like what else am I going to spend them on at this point?
Signal data.
But like how much like I mean here like where I'm at it's like I'm just going to end up spending my like 200s at this point cuz I don't get any in my daily deals right now.
Okay. I don't know.
But that is something I am saving for that. It's just I have more crystals than I've ever had before because I'm not doing my refreshes for regular and stuff like. So I'm like I may as well just spend them on some of these things and maybe get a leg up, or there's a part of me where I'm like I should just rush Scorch because I feel like it, but
Well, so what are you doing for the raid? What score are you hitting right now?
like it's funny. Like 5 million.
That's
I
terrible.
got to like 5-1, but it's
Embarrassing.
like 5 million.
Can we all take a moment to
Yeah, I
laugh
know.
at Phil right now? Can we all just look at
You know what?
him and
That is more than I need to do my fair share of the 245 crate.
that's fair. I mean, but like, is everybody in your guild hitting that crate right now, or hitting
No.
that max at 4.55? No, right? Because we're in the
No.
same
No.
position. We have people who are not hitting that goal like they need to be, but we also have, I don't know, 15 to 20 people who are topping off at 9 to 13 million, which kind of evens it out. Um, for the record, for those who are on right now and want to know who's better between the two of us, I did 11.1 the last raid. And if I bring Kelleran back and Jocasta New from R7 to R8, I'll be up at 12 million by the next raid.
Is that so? Are you have the Relic 7 Bad Batch?
So I have the Relic 7 Bad Batch, and I was going to bring them to 9. And now I almost, out of principle, I feel like, I just kind of feel annoyed by how much harder they are to use post patch that I don't even want to bring them to
Yeah.
9 anymore. So I'm looking for other ways to get a couple of points, and for me, that might be bringing Kelleran back and Jocasta New to R8 because I already have Plo Koon there. that might be waiting for Jedi Master Mace Windu in 2.5 months, because I've been lucking out, and both of last week's era battles, I got Depa Balaba shards, which was,
I hate you.
really nice.
I'm so pissed because I've gotten splits each time. I've gotten both of their shards,
Okay.
but I've gotten the bigger hit on Temple Guard each time, and I'm just like, stop. I'm gonna have him 7 star soon, and that's kind of a problem.
It's not a problem that you have him, but I understand what you mean. Like, you want it to be more even so that you don't have to race to get the Depa shards. But I'm
Yeah.
going to formally tell you right here in front of everybody, I know. So for those who don't know, Phil and I, we have this weekly thing where he tries to recruit me and I try to recruit him, and we just go back and forth trying to recruit each other. It seems like my guild is possibly going to surpass you in the raid. And while you may be doing a few extra stars than us in TB, that's meaningless, we get more droid brains than you. I will kick a motherfucker out tonight. So think about it. And if anyone in Phil's guild is mad at me right now and they're watching, I don't care. Don't care.
You guys scored 276 million points in the raid?
I think I don't know. I didn't look last time. I'm not concerned with it right
I
now.
just looked in game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What did
We
you
are
score last time?
342 million.
Okay, so you're right below the new box.
We're getting closer to the next one. I mean,
We'll be there within
our guild.
three,
I have to.
three raids, I think. 3.
Yeah, like I was kind of saying for us, once I get Disguised Clone Trooper, I can increase my score by over 2 million points. If I get Scorch and they keep the Undermans, that's 3.6 million points. Like at that point, I'm above 10 million. Everything's fine. So, like, I'm not worried.
I'm hoping they keep the Undermans. I mean, it kind of sucks, and it becomes a problem because I know right now, and some people in my guild have been doing this too. Unless it's something you're going to do no matter what, there are people who are just holding out. They're going, well, I don't want to invest if they're going to change this, so I don't want to take this character to this level or to that level. Depending on what they do, if they change the Undermans, are they going to target just the clones because that's a pretty egregious one, or are they going to shut down Undermans totally? Wherein, like, if I take Kelleran back and Jocasta Nu to R8, then I'm seemingly in a position where I now need to relic 2 more R8s to keep my score from those 2, which is the only thing that's kind of holding me back from doing that.
That's again, if I don't want to put this out there and then it be the truth, but if I put on my hat of remembering what they've done in the past,
yeah,
the Mace Depa Temple Guard feels very different than what the clones does.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like that to me. So I think in my mind, I'm like, I was already planning to take these clones Relic 9.
Yeah.
So if they kill the Underman, does it suck? Absolutely. But it's not anything that I wasn't expecting them to be an Underman. I wasn't expecting to have 2 clone teams. If they kill the Jedi Vanguard to where you need to put Jocasta with Mace Windu or something, then I'll get pissed off because that to me feels a little bit more egregious.
Well, the thing is that I'm worried about, the Kelleran back or the Jedi Master Mace Windu Underman feels a lot like the Sithridist team in Naboo. Whereas the clone split is like, I get it, right? Like, I'm benefiting from it, but I get it. I understand. Yeah. But when they built this raid, they built it in a way where they didn't want us doing Undermans at all. And I almost feel like they just couldn't turn off in raids, or like, we don't know how to turn off having less than 5 people with the mainframe for raids. So we're going to come up with some random ass way to stop them. And everything everything is being undermanned. So I am a little bit concerned that they will do it for everything, especially because isn't there like I think I saw Keller and Beck and just Jocasta new at like R9.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's somewhere I feel it's really egregious. Now the Keller and Beck Jocasta,
Hmm.
I think was benefiting from the bug where she would keep throwing her rifle
Okay,
and
so that's probably
reviving,
gone.
which yeah, which that and when I was looking, by the way, I gotta say, when I looked at those bug fixes the other day,
Hmm.
I have to say, like, I was fairly impressed that it wasn't all just like really garbage. We're fixing raid stuff. Like there was the one that I thought was big was the Dark Side Ray Datacron got fixed. I don't know how many people flagged that, but they finally were like, hey, fixed an issue where Datacron for Dark Ray would trigger the same effect on bonus turn if both teams had the Datacron equipped. Which that's been an issue with that bonus turn since like
Dengar.
forever. Yeah, like it's been around for the Fulcrum one, the Dengar one, and it's like they maybe hopefully finally fixed it.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's good. That's the first time that they've made in my opinion, a solid change on a Datacron like that, and not been like, whatever, we don't care.
My
So
only
I was
thing
like, that one that was
finish.
good.
The only thing with that cron is I have found outside of the mirror, it makes GAC not fun. It's such a strong cron. And now, yeah, sure, you could just put it on an offense and go toe for toe and rock paper scissors and boom, it's done. I've had luck taking it out in squad arena, even being slower. I'm not going to do that. I'm leaving it on defense because it's that strong. But it's one of those teams like Ray Hezra where you kind of just do it. You throw something at it and say, well, this is gonna tell me how my GAC goes. Is this gonna be a shit one or is this gonna be a really good one? And I've had multiple battles in my 3v3 where I shit the bed, and I thought I was gonna lose, but then my opponent also lost too because whatever they threw at it sucked also. And I just have been very bored with it in the meta, and that's with having it. This will make it slightly easier, but that's only if you choose to keep it on offense.
Yeah. It's funny now, and my squad arena went from everybody using the Dark Side Raycron to now everyone running Jedi Master Kenobi with the Hodocron.
Yeah, which I
And you're
just got.
running Commander Tana, some variation with the 5th unit is up for grabs, but General Kenobi, Commander Tano, and Hezra.
Yes.
And it is beyond annoying to do that any match against it because it's just not fun. And I'm like, what? Why are we doing this all the time? But I mean, I'm running it. Everyone's running it, and you just it's so annoying. It's so stupid.
It doesn't make it interesting.
I love the focus Datacrons like Boba Fett, even like this Krennic one, right? Like that gets a thumbs up from me on. It's interesting, it's fun. The Sidious Datacron, the Dooku, the Saw Gerrera, like all those Datacrons where where there's something interesting going on. I love it.
Yeah.
The focused ones for GLs is pissing me off a bit because they're already so powerful and so ridiculous, and now you're like, oh hey, Ray Kylo's already like a top 4 team. Now it's number 1 because you just can't beat it with anything.
Yeah, I don't think a cron, focused or otherwise, should ever target a character who is generally in a GL squad. Now, with that said, maybe you have an L337 cron, and now people are like, oh my god, it goes with Ray, and Ray's amazing. I don't know. But it should never be a teammate who is a staple of that team because those teams are already at the top. It doesn't make it interesting. I don't have the Krennicron. I know young Skywalker is flipping his shit over the Jawa-cron right now. He's like, I'm so excited to use it. Like, that's the kind of stuff that makes crons kind of interesting when you take like those B+ teams and those C teams and you do something like crazy and fun with them and make them useful.
Yeah, I'm like I like the Jawa Kron. I just don't know. I'm sure there will be something that beats it that people who invested will be like, darn it. Because I feel like even with the Ray Kron, Jedi Master Kenobi is still beating it. And it's much easier to handle in 5v5 than it is 3v3.
I would hope so.
Because
We'll find out.
like you'll get more dumb turns with your random characters. So that's kind of like you say, oh, that's a problem for Ray. But the flip side is there's more characters to target. So that, helps out. But also you're going to get more ultimate charge from baby Ahsoka assisting
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to get your force sleep and all that stuff faster. So I'm curious how 5v5 works comparative to threes, because that will be an interesting interaction, to say the least.
Well, first week of GAC is always a shit show. At least it is for me, because I don't really deal with it in the same way that other people do. So it's gonna be a shit show, and then by week 2 we'll figure it out, and we'll I don't know. I've been doing okay. I've been doing all right, and I generally do better in threes. So we'll see what happens.
I just made a huge mistake and looked at my GAC ranking.
Oh.
For I'm number 456 in Kyber 1
so
at 3730.
You're heading into the gauntlet.
I'm about to get my I'm going to get my ass kicked.
You want me to send you some petroleum jelly?
Dude, that's not going to help. It's just that there's nothing I can do here other than just accept that I'm so screwed.
Bring some flowers. They'll go easier on you.
Huh.
Just submit.
And it's so that's the part that's crazy though, right? It's I go up against someone and it's oh, I've got, the Hezra, I've got the Yoda Kron, I've got Rey, I've got the Krennic one. And then you look at my opponents and it's they have all of the focused Datacrons from last set. They have 2 Temple Guard Crons. Just what am I supposed to do?
I've actually been seeing a lot more of that in Kyber 2 now. Seeing players who used to be Kyber 1 players because of all the squish going on, who do have everything. But again, at least in threes, they were getting just as thrown off as I was with the different focused Crons that I just happened to do slightly better in some instances. I do want to bring this back because GAC bores me. Big deal in chat. He brought up a great point. He wants to know, with you on the heels of getting to the next box in the raid, how you can live with yourself not actually hitting the average that your guild needs. So while you only need 4.9 for the box you're at, your guild is pushing to the next box, and you're actually only about 66% of the way there.
Yeah, no, it actually 100% bothers me. If you guys don't think that this doesn't bother me, it 100% bothers me. I'm a very staunch believer, and I don't want to get too much into some, but there was some drama in my there's some drama in my guild over efficiency.
Yeah.
That I'm kind of on the side that I don't care if you are efficient. Like in our TB battle, I dropped 1 entire battle the entire time. Did I score as many waves as you did?
No.
Right? So it does. I can be as efficient as I want, but if I don't score as much, it doesn't matter. And so I was trying to, and it caused some drama with various people who are more efficiency based. And I'm one of the lowest rosters in our guild. I'm bottom. You make fun of me for it all the time. I'm one of the lowest rosters in my guild. And so I'm very aware that I need to do more. That for me to feel like I belong in that guild, I can't be 43rd in the raid and TB and all that stuff. So it is something, it does bother me because I'm I want to pull my weight. I want to do more. But it's also one of those where you're like, the only reason we're getting to that box is because everybody who's ahead of me, or most people who are ahead of me, are doing the clone split and doing the Mace Windu split. And so they're getting like 9 million points that I'm just not able to score.
So you do feel emasculated.
100%.
Okay.
I stare at my Scorch and Disguise Clone Trooper every day and just like regret.
You know, you could wail on them at this point.
It's been a thought. Honestly, my bigger concern is how long it will take me to get Depa. And so I'm kind of saving crystals just in case it comes down to the wire.
I think with the era battles, I've been thinking about this. I think with the era battles, you're going to be okay with Depa. And people have asked me about it. You know, there's only 2 characters in that role. It's not like the clones where you had 4 characters in there. With only 2 in there, and I think you're going to be pretty fine. You'll have probably about a month and a half of farming on Depa before Jedi Master Mace Windu, and we still have 2 more weeks of double. Is that correct? Or is it 1 more week of double?
I'd have to pull it up. Let me see. I at least have this like in my search bar.
I think it might be
like,
1 more, because after Temple Guard, after Depa, after Captain Athano. So we have 1 more week of double, and then 4 more weeks of 1. So that's 6 more era battles.
Yes.
I think you're going to be
plus, and that's this. And again, and just thinking out loud, we have an extra clone one on the calendar that they gave us.
Okay.
So we get like 1 more clone after the
So everybody keeps bringing that up, and I don't know if that's true. And I know I've seen the calendar. I understand. Yeah. But I don't think that was intended to say a hard date for the clones. I think that was just intended to show that the era battles can show up as one-off events. And I could be wrong, but I just think that was the purpose of that, is to say, like, hey, we can throw in this whenever. And remember, we're already thrown off on that calendar because of the era battles and the Captain Athano and blah, blah, blah. So I would not take that calendar as law right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was my whole thing. Was I was like, I'm curious if they would do that again with the Vanguards, where they're going to take that break and bring it back. Now, obviously, I think that would make sense, but I can, like if I was them, every time Mace Windu's Journey Guide comes back, I'd roll back the Nightfall battle and the Depa battle, or the Temple Guard ones, or Vanguard, whatever the hell they are, just to try to capitalize on people, to be like, you're missing out on XYZ rewards.
My thought is that they might do, and again, we're in the beginning of era battles, but once there are a couple of era battles, that we might see one-off era battle a month. Kind of like, the Ewok thing, the Old Daka thing, or not Old Daka, Mother Talzin thing. And seemingly right now it'll be Nightfall, and then it'll be the Temple one. But I think it'll just be to encourage everybody to say, oh, by the way, even though you missed this on the first round, these are going to keep coming back. You want to kind of maximize your passive income. Will they give us a free $10 pack for Depa? What do you think?
I don't know. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But it also was like, it felt, and again, I say this a lot, like, it's awesome. Okay. It's awesome. I'm going to be very picky and very stingy when I say this, but there's a shred of truth. I have a
feeling we're going to say the same thing. So go ahead.
Why couldn't it have been Depa?
Okay. Here's why. I'm going to tell you right now why. I thought we were going to say the same thing. We're not. CG did a very smart thing with that pack. They gave us 66 shards, which is like LOL. It's of Temple Guard.
Order 66.
It's the character that was lesser needed, right? And what it did is it put people in a position to say, wait a second, maybe I can wail. right? That's exactly what happened. Is they got 66 shards and said, "Wait a second, maybe I can whale." And I just saw your face go, right? And I
Kind of.
already know multiple people in my guild who did end up whaling specifically because of that pack. I had a guildmate, even after I literally begged him not to send me a vault to whale, which didn't amount to anything, which is why I begged him not to send me it. I was like, it's not going to do anything. And I did. I bought Depa shards, but it didn't get me anywhere near where I needed to. They put people in a position to think that they could whale, and they spent more money. Now, Depa, if they give us a 66 shard, that's not going to cause extra panic spending at that point. So it's not going to happen.
See, I wasn't approaching it from that angle. I was approaching it from the angle that like it's a good, like, I can completely see that side of it.
Okay.
But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head of there's maybe some people who felt that way, but most people just took it as this is less farming that I have to do. Because I would argue the vast majority of this game is doesn't whale on characters.
Of course, but those people are irrelevant. And I
Well,
don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that in terms of a spending way. Those people are relevant. That's not the person that they were capturing.
see, I think in my mind, if I was them, I would have given it for Depa and tried to pass it off as like a, hey, we're trying to help you get ready for the next event. Because they're in desperate need of some good PR.
But they got that with Temple Guard. Oh, you mean if they did another one? I get what you're saying. If they do another one.
Yeah, like they're still, even after the Temple Guard thing, I feel like we've all forgotten it, and now we're just like PO'd that they're nerfing all the stuff that made the raid kind of fun to play.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not gonna say no if they do it. I just think that a lot of their, and I don't think it's malicious. And I said that in my raid video. I don't think the whole, or not my raid video, my era battles video. I don't think that what they did was malicious. I think they were trying to shift the schedule, and they just didn't think about these things in the grand scheme, how it affects everybody. It's the same thing with spending. They're not maliciously trying to get you out on the street, but their job is to increase spending, and they are going to try different tactics to say, hey, does this way of increasing spending work? Does this way of increasing spending work? And they play with all of these market things, and they A/B test, and they try different things out, and they see what's more effective, what's less effective, and it's smart. It's business.
I always say that every decision they make, every single decision, is 100% based on will it make us more money.
Of
There's not a
course.
single coming from, and I say, like, being in, now I work for a manufacturer, but I work in finance. Every single decision that you would not think has to do with, hey, is there money involved for us? There somehow boils down to, is it worth it? Like,
Of course.
down to, should this person, like, we have these licenses that we need to get to use this one software. And my boss was like, hey, Phil, why don't these people do that? And I'm like, we don't want to pay for their license. It literally just comes down to, I have to do some menial task instead of somebody else because we're not willing to pay for, a $500 license.
Yeah.
We're a big company, but and CG, EA, they all go through that same thing. And so I will never fall. I said it, and I know I get crap for the way I say it, but like, I have no problem that they need to make more money. I just want you to tell me it sometimes. If you're upfront about it, you'll probably get more money from me. But
it depends. It depends. And that's, look, I own a business. That is how I run my business. I'm very transparent, and I think that on a local level, my clients and my parents, they appreciate that. From a mobile gaming aspect, I think there will be some people that appreciate that. But I think that for a lot of other people, it'll ruin the magic, and magic is in air quotes.
Oh,
it'll ruin the illusion that everybody it's all sunshine and rainbows. And you have to remember that there's a lot of people at play. And I've said this a lot. I don't know if do you ever see Mythic Quest on Apple TV?
No, I don't have
No.
Apple TV.
No, I mean, I buy it like for a month a year. So it's basically The Office, but at a massive multiplayer online game company that is building a game kind of like World of Warcraft. And, everybody, all the designers are all like, we're going to do this. It's going to be great. We're going to do that. We're going to build armor. It's so awesome. We want our players to do this thing, and it's going to be the best game ever, and we love our players. But then you have the monetization guy. I forgot the actor's name. He's Abed from Community. And his whole thing is money, right? So he's always injected in it, like, all right, how do we make money? How do we monetize this? How do we fuck over the player to get their money? And it's very funny, but for every 8 people on their staff who's like, we want to make this amazing game, there is someone whose job is, okay, how do we make money off of this?
Oh, it's so true. And what I remember AP Gaines said this one time, and it was one of the most truthful statements I'd ever heard, where he was like, CG got too good at making money that they stopped making it. That like we stopped spending because they got too smart at how to get us to spend, that we all like figured it out. And I was like,
Yeah.
it was a very good point for a little bit there, where they knew what we would and wouldn't, and people began to figure it out and get mad. But I have to say, they've done a pretty good job trying to entice it.
Yes.
I think they've lowered, I mean, a lot of obviously marquees are lower cost now, but I even think like the slice of bundles are a great example where most of them are lower cost and a higher percentage of the reward.
Yes.
But you're not getting like $100 and it's $1,000 value. It's like hey, here's a $10 pack with a, $20 value or something. And I think that's been good for them because it is enticing more people to spend because they feel like they're getting a deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like you bring up AP Gaines, right? AP Gaines, the last time I saw him, I know he went into the Army or the Armed Forces or something about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. The game was in a very different place. Now, I rest on his laurels as a content creator. He walked so I could run, so to speak. I get that. He also fucked over the relationship between CG and the content creators. So, it is what it is. But it was a very different game in terms of monetization at that point. It was very much a rote, like $300. It's for the whales, blah, blah, blah. And CG has evolved because the markets have evolved, because spending patterns have evolved, because the young kids who grew up with microtransactions, they're adults now, so they don't care that microtransactions exist. It's just part of, it's just part of who we are as a society at this point. So it's interesting to bring that up just because we've seen such a major shift in the last 1.5 to 2 years.
I'm even curious. I know but like from a monetization perspective, the one thing I'm kind of curious on is how they handle light speed bundles moving forward, because they're basically caught up, right? Like
Yes.
There's very few things that aren't there. And I said this a long time, and I think even you and I brought it up before, like it makes you a one-time customer.
Yeah.
Right? Now they tried
Depends.
Like one time for that bundle. Now
Yeah.
they can re-release like the first order bundle for like they did with Relic 6 in it.
Yes.
I know I'll never get the numbers on it because they would never share this, but I'd love to know the amount of people who bought that versus the amount of people who bought the original Kylo bundle.
Yeah.
And because I guarantee that the drop off was insane, even with the price hike on the second bundle.
Yeah, but of course, but that's because your customer base is smaller now, right? So if there's 100,000 customers and 75,000 buy this bundle, you don't have 75,000 people to buy that bundle again, And Continue.
I w-
Yeah.
no, I was saying it's the bundle that they gave out like relic sixes inside of
No, I
for the first
understand
order.
that. I understand that, but like that's not going to entice the majority of players. It'll entice the higher spenders who go, "Well, I do have $30 and that one relic level is worth it over the course of 12 characters." But then the majority of players are going to say, "Well, my SLKR that I just got is doing exactly what I need it to, so I'm good.
Yes.
I don't need
Which
a
I
relic 6 slicker, at this point."
Yeah, and that was gonna be my next point is like I my fear with them is that you've either got to rate like it for Gungans whenever that if 'cause we know that's gonna be a bundle at
Of
some
course it
point.
will.
Do you sell them at Relic 5 or do you sell them at Relic 7, push the price point higher, and make your money that way?
I would sell
Because
them at Relic 5
see,
if I were them.
I would go to the Relic 7, bump the price up a little bit because most people who are gonna buy them, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You guys correct me in the comments. I feel most people who buy bundles, most of them, they're more thinking about the Kyrotech than the signal data. I know you and I, that's not the way we think,
Mm-hmm.
but I know a lot of the players who were buying them, their thought was, oh, it's the Kyrotech. That's what I'm
Correct. Which is
saving.
why you sell it at R5.
See, but I'm saying you sell it at Relic 7 and bump the price up because they're not going to care about the Relic level like they'll care about the Kyrotech they're saving.
But there's a difference because most people, if they're only valuing, because the signal data is it's a higher price point, right? The signal data, the relic materials, it's the more expensive part. And that's what we value. We're like, oh shit. But I agree with you that the majority of those Lightspeed bundle purchasers, they're in the early game, the mid game. You may have some in the late game that just didn't prioritize something. They're looking at the Kyrotech price value, and that's not going to match to the price that they see because they don't need a Relic 7 Gungan team unless their guild isn't doing Relic 7 planets in rote. And if they are, it's predominantly deploy and blah, 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 and the combats don't matter as much. So they're doing a cost analysis on Kyrotech, and they're going, well, it doesn't work out, even though it does realistically. And it allows them to sell the bundle again. It allows them a year later to release the same bundle and say, you know what, Relic 7 now.
I would be curious to see how they work through that because they went to Relic 6. I don't think Relic 6 worked, but like this, they sold those Sith at Relic 7. And I have seen a lot of people with those Sith at Relic 7. It was like Dooku, Marauder, Maul, Sidious, and one other. I forget who else it was. But it was like 5 Sith at Relic 7. I was like, that was a great deal. And I was glad to see people bought that. I'm all for Lightspeed bundles. I'm just curious because I feel like it does lead to the whole one-time customers unless they do like Relic 9 Ugnaught next.
Yeah, but it's a one-time customer on that bundle versus, how many people a year ago were constantly talking about the different cost analysis on different bundles. And now everybody's like, oh my God, this Zeta bundle, that Zeta bundle, $40 for 2 Zetas. Oh my God, I need to get this Zeta. They have basically, what they did is they took weed, okay? They took your cannabis and they laced it with a little fentanyl. And now everybody is looking for that fentanyl hit because it's the better hit. And this live stream is going to be demonetized very fast. but that's basically what happened is they have turned all of these casual spenders into addicts. There are so many people on my Discord that never would have made a purchase 2 years ago. 2 years ago they were free to play adjacent or casual spenders, or I bought the hyperdrive bundle, but I am free to play now. There were all these stupid people in doing whatever they were doing, and now they are cool buying things because they need their fucking fentanyl fix, right? And fentanyl is Zetas, to be clear.
Yes. And the Zeta, I find the Zeta crunch to be just like, I feel bad for the player base because I think there's a lot of people who probably didn't realize how slow Zetas are.
Yeah.
Real, realistically, they're fast if you are on a regular pace, but the minute you need to pick up your pace, all of a sudden you're like, I do not have enough Zetas. But I do find it very funny that that was not that people didn't always give that into consideration, because I 100% when I was looking at some of the bundles and I'm like, I can't do this one because I don't have the Zetas to spend, like the Scoundrel bundle.
Yeah.
I looked at that for BAM and I was like, I don't have the Zetas for Queel and Cara Dune and IG-11. So there's no reason for me to buy this because I don't have the Zetas to spend. And then I watch everybody buy all these other ones and then are like freaking out. And I'm like, it was very funny to see. Like you said, most people looked at the Kyrotech and bought them. But from a player who's been sitting in that game for a while, you're like, I don't have all the extra stuff I need to make this bundle work.
Of course, but some people, like, even I know the Jawas are not known for their Zetas, and I don't even know how many Zetas the Jawas have, but like I bought the
0.
Jawa bundle. They have 0. Awesome, love it. I bought the Jawa bundle, so my point is going to be diluted here, but I bought the Jawa bundle not even thinking about Zetas. Like, I didn't know if there were Zetas on them or not. I just said, you know what? I don't have Zetas at Relics. One day, maybe I want Jawas at Relics. I don't need them now. Yeah. I haven't used them once since I bought that bundle, ever. But for $10, I got 3 additional Jawas at Relics, and one day they're going to be useful for me. And it was worth it for me to not have to spend those materials. And I think a lot of people were in that position, especially before we knew that certain bundles would return. It's just, maybe I can't work on this now, but I have it ready for me when I want to work on it.
And that's the part that I think they've done in their favor really well, is there's an air of uncertainty. You don't know when they're coming back. So you have to, in some aspects, make that decision that you're going to buy this now and take the chance that, okay, I can't work on it today and it's going to sit here for months and months. Or I'm not going to buy this, and then, like I did with the Night Sister bundle, have immediate regret because they release Great Mothers and Morgan, and you're like, son of a bitch, this bundle's actually valuable. Now, thank God it came back when it did, but that was like a regret because it was useful right then. So they're getting shiesty, man. They're getting smart.
They like to keep us guessing. You know, sometimes things mean something, sometimes things don't mean something. They never want us to know ahead of time because they of course they want you to go, ooh, I might need this at some point. And in regard to the Zetas, you know, we're seeing a lot more characters who have 2. Doesn't Quiggle, whatever the hell his name is, doesn't he have 2 Zetas now also as a marquee?
Check. I have GG up on the one on my one page.
I think he does. I have the game up.
Yes, he's got 2.
Yeah. You know, and so we're seeing a lot more characters, marquee level characters like that at this point, and we're starting to, even at the top end, if you don't have all the Zetas, you're starting to go, oh, I'm a little low. And then you have me, who put both of Farm Boy Zetas on last week just because I wanted to. You know,
Zetas are they're not a problem for me yet because of how long it takes me to get, like, by the time I need Depa and Temple Guard and everybody else, I will have them as long as I'm not rushing. But, like, I can't put them on right now because I need it. I can. I'm just not going to, kind of thing. I still need to get Smee and all the other crap.
I just throw them on. Any new marquee, I throw them on because I know the new marquees, I'm going to use them, right? Like, there's always a use for the new marquee, so I just slap that shit right on. It's not even worth not doing it.
I did that with my Tuscans a while ago, and my Tuscans are still sitting at, like, gear 11. Because I didn't buy that bundle.
I think I bought the Tuscan one. I think I did. I don't remember.
It was my Tuscan Warrior is my only, like, he's accelerated in the Cantina and is still, or still sitting at 3 stars, 15 of 30.
I have found them useful, and not all the time, but every
They're
once in a while, you just lines up and you throw
they're
Tuskens.
they're a solid team. I just can't a again, signal data being the problem, I don't need there's nothing I need them for. So why am I'm not gonna go out of my way to farm that character. It's just not worth it.
They almost got me with that signal data slicer bundle. Thankfully,
Yeah, dude. I
thankfully, I have my value charts.
I messaged you and was like, of course they released this on the day that Disguised Clone Trooper goes to Cantina because it was like I just am staring at all the blue signal data on that bundle and I was like, "Ugh, I hate them so much."
And it's not a bad bundle. The valuation is like 60 to 70%, but like then I look at the signal data ascension, which is like 100 to 150, and I'm like, you can't even if you only buy $20 worth of the ascension, it's still
Yeah,
was that a yawn?
that was a yawn.
Oh, we gotta add to the yawn counter.
Oh, is there a yawn counter?
There's a
Oh
yawn.
shit.
There's a yawn counter now.
I have the stream pulled up, but I was only looking at chat. I couldn't read underneath my face.
It was a quick yawn. I don't know if it counts as a whole
It was
one.
yeah, maybe like a half. Nah, it's a
Half a
full
yawn.
yawn. It's fine.
Is this me? My guild. I shouldn't. I have. Fuck you, Bobble. Is Bobble in chat right now? You piece of shit. One of my guild members. I made the mistake about a year ago of giving him my phone number. Back
Oh gosh.
back like before I was anything, and it was just like me. Like, yeah, I can help you out. And now he's messaging me. He's texting me, trying to piss me off on purpose. Fuck you, Bobble.
That's perfect. That's a good that's a good guildmate right there.
It is. He's being a good friend. I'm a fan. So listen, you enticed me with a hot take like a week
Yep.
ago, and again for those we've seen a much bigger increase in viewership since I first said this. So I'll say it again. I begged you not to tell me what this hot take was because I needed to hear it live. So please share with me. I think you said it was a raid hot take. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I I've been like, one, I wanted to do this with you because I've said before, you keep a cool head.
Okay.
Regardless of whether you're going to rip me apart or you're going to agree with me, you keep a cool head and you'll think about it without your emotions in it. Because I know I'm much more on that side where like if something pisses me off, I will just be pissed off to be pissed off. It's 100% a big part of me. Like I will just get pissed off to get pissed.
Before you say
But
it,
I've been
I just want
thinking,
to pause you really quick. Just to
yep,
kind of let you and everyone else know. And again, I said this in the beginning. My wife was supposed to be on a business trip these last 2 days. There's flash flooding in the area. Her flight was canceled. It was canceled 3 hours ago, but she's finally on her way home now because she just got her stuff. When she gets home, we're not done, but I am going to step away for like 2 minutes while you entertain the crowd so I can check in with her. So if you see me leave, that's why I'm leaving, but please continue.
so looking at this raid right now, I feel there's I have a lot of opinions about it, some good, some bad. And there's a lot of aspects where there's some things that I think are really friendly to the player base that have happened. And
Okay.
there's some things that I definitely do not like that I feel are very bad and that they should have just waited a little bit. There's a lot of those feelings rolling around. But there's a part of the raid that I've kind of completely changed my tune on. And that I'm like, this went from something I was like, this is ridiculous to like, I'm very happy about it. So,
Okay.
at the risk of losing every single subscriber that I have, I actually have come around to Pirates/Hondo being a part of this raid is the most player friendly decision that they made.
No, don't speak. Hold on. We need to let that sit. Let
Yeah.
that sit. Okay. Explain.
So, farming Galactic Legends is the easiest thing to convince this player base to do.
Okay.
It
Yep.
is that is the easiest thing to convince anybody, and there are more Ahsokas than there are Balin.
Of course. Yeah.
Balin is Balin is 100 times easier to get. There's no waste inside of that Balin team. Like everybody's good, right? Like it's a great team, great characters, great Rex. Ahsoka is terrible without Ezra. You super expensive, and there's still more of Ahsoka than there is Balin.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Though, to be
with
clear,
Hondo,
and to be fair, Balin is still timed. Ahsoka is not.
yes, yes. So that could potentially change, but even still, 5 requirements compared to what 17,
Yeah.
16,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But when we heard pirates were coming to the game, we all were like, "What the fuck?" And it's ridiculous, and it's not fair, and it's not right. And I was on that train. But the raid as it, and I will say this, the one caveat, as it stands, with the ability to underman, as it stands, the raid is possible to beat without pirates. So pirates are just an added extra team that are not necessary for you to do your score. If they
Correct.
go in and really alter underman teams, and I'm really talking about Mace, the Jedi Vanguard
All of them.
split.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The dark side clones, I'm kind of taking away from this to say no. But like you're gonna be able to score however many enough points, like 10.4 million is it for the max crate, right? 10.4
10,
million.
10, 10.5, I think, as an average. I think it is. Yeah.
You're able to hit that without any pirates. And
Correct.
without, I would say,
And without undermans. Yes, because you have 4 teams
yeah,
right now. And you could, because even with the Jedi Master Mace Windu split, before we found the splits, you could do it with 2 extras, right? So Keller and Beck and Jocasta wouldn't be needed. 3.6 times 4. So you can do 14.4 million right now with no undermans. 14.7 if you include the 300K from Hondo. Okay, so yes.
yeah, yeah. So as I sat there and I was like, you know what? Maybe we all have been a little bit harsh about that. The pirates are not necessary for you to get the max crate. That they realized their mistake with Ahsoka and even the Bad Batch to begin with, where they said the Bad Batch are not needed for anything right now, and
Okay.
nobody wanted them. And I'm thinking, is Hondo kind of we're putting him in the raid because no one in their right mind would build Hondo for the next 6 months or whatever over Mace or the Bad Batch or anything in the raid, because even with a Smuggler's Run 3, most people are not going to do that for the raid. But throwing him in the raid now allows any person who is free to play to sit there and look at their account and say, well, I don't want the Bad Batch. I'm not going to get Mace Windu. I can get this new Galactic Legend who's going to be one of the best characters in the game. Even Ahsoka, for all the crap that we give Ahsoka, she's still one of the best characters in the game. There are still a lot of people who are watching this now who would not clear my Ahsoka team in any game mode. So, like, we can move on with life now. Hondo's going to be that good. And so I think that's why I've sat here and I'm like, you know what? That's pretty player friendly to throw him in there. They're going to let you work towards a GL and work on the raid at the same time. That's what they had with Jabba. That's what you had with Leia in the speeder bike and crate raid, respectively. So I'm kind of okay with it. And I'm kind of happy that he's in the raid now. I know it's a hot take.
Here's my thing. We have six marquees, correct? 1 has been released. 1 is going to be released this week. So the 3rd will be released on the week of July 28th. The 4th will be released on the week of August 11th. The 5th will be released on the week of my birthday, which is August 25th. I expect a present. And the 6th will be released on the week of September 8th. Okay? It takes about a month for them to go to shipments, which means that last marquee 1, 2, 3, 4 will be in shipments roughly October 6th. It takes about a month for them to go to farming at that point. So roughly November 3rd, right? Now, normally we would say it would take about 5 to 6 months to farm that character, but we're going to assume era battles. We're going to assume a little bit of, like, you did your 5, so you're going to get it ahead of time. You're going to do something, you know, like a refreshes. I don't know why I didn't know the word for refresh there. So let's say at that point you get him within a month, right? That last marquee. And that's the last thing you need. So you're going to have that last marquee by roughly December 1st. And that is, that's with like easy math. It could be slightly more, could be slightly less. The raid came out early July. So July to August, September, October, November, December. That's 5 months. This is a year-long raid, which means by the time the majority of casual spenders and free-to-play players get him, the raid's going to be half over. If not more. We're talking about a highly motivated casual spender or free-to-play spender. Now, I am in the camp that I don't give a shit that they're in the raid. It doesn't bother me. I am not here to relive Star Wars. If I was, I've said this before, I'd just go watch the movies, right? That's what I would do. I don't fucking care. I do think I think saying that it's the most player friendly thing is kind of egregious, and using the modifier most is really what the hot take is here. More than anything else, I think the most player friendly thing they did with this split is made the Keller and Beck team so easy. Really only you don't even need Jocasta Nu, but it is hard without Jocasta Nu. I don't hate that they're in this raid. I do think Smuggler's Run is going to be a much bigger thing than you think it's going to be. I don't. The people that I think you want to be enticed by this are not going to see the return that you think that they're going to see because of how many barriers to entry there are.
So my argument per se will be the Crate Dragon raid and Speeder Bike raid, where though, especially Speeder Bike, Leia was released and then most people did not have her until about halfway through that raid, right? Give or take, most people did not have Leia till halfway, but that raid was only 9 months long. So now you're looking at a 4.5 month, give or take 4 or 5 months of raid. Here you're getting a potential 6 to 7 if you are diligent in your farms. And any person, and I don't know, maybe I should have used this as like a, like put a
Again, I understand what you're saying. I just don't like the word most. And I also want to give a shout out to ETH fan who loves me very much and subscribe to a Pointless Club where you get to see nipple pictures of me. You don't get to see nipple pictures of me.
And so someone asked in chat, when will free to play get Hondo? February.
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about, right? Like a highly motivated free to play in the end game, probably around December. But not everybody's highly motivated, and it depends on where you are in the game.
But you're going to be able to use the other pirates that you will be getting for Hondo along the way. And I'm not saying that they're all, like, obviously they're buffing Itano to make him better and stuff. So, but when I look at that and I think about that comparative to, say, the Gungans, where as good as that faction is as a group, they are much worse without Jar Jar.
Yes.
And in the raid, it was significantly worse without Jar Jar. Now, it was still possible to do some good things with them, right? Still very possible. I was maxing without Jar Jar, but
Yes, you're able to do it without Jar Jar, especially if you got the raid Omicron. But I knew it was possible without the raid Omicron.
yeah, and it just took a lot of extra work and remodding and kind of crazy stuff like that. But with these other pirates that you're going to have for Hondo, there's going to be some good teams that you'll even get some benefit along the way, where you'll start to get your score will slowly increase. Where like with Gungans, you kind of needed all of them together to start scoring really well in the raid. You get Atano and Quiggold, and then you get this character and this character, and your score will start to increase along the way, increasing your rewards. Now, I also recognize I have a very different view of what a free-to-play should look like, because a lot of my opinions come from when it was a hell of a lot harder to play the game, where like you had to be strict and stingent with your resources. Like if I'm a player now, I know Hondo's in the game. If I'm not going for Mace, I'm not getting Bad Batch. You better be all in on your pirates and trying to get Hondo tomorrow, kind of thing.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like I had someone actually ask me in my guild, his plan was to finish his Bad Batch. He's a little behind on the raid, and because of the Bad Batch change, he was asking like, hey, should I even bother finishing Bad Batch, or should I go for Hondo? And just really go all in on pirates. And we're talking about it as a free-to-play / casual spender, not as a hardcore whale. And I kind of said to him, the problem with going for pirates is that we need these scores now. We have a 1 month goal, we have a 3 month goal, and we have a 6 month goal. And you're not going to hit the 1 month goal, you're not going to hit the 3 month goal, and you're not going to hit the 6 month goal because you're going all in on something. I think the major concern with this raid has been when people lose a box, right? So if you're on the 6th box and you're looking at all these new teams, and you're like, whoa, my guild is only going to get to the 4th box, now we're losing rewards. And that's the thing that people were most worried about. And even outside of the Underman splits, we have seen, with the Keller and Beck team, with all of the solos that are possible. And I don't think that CG is trying to target those low-level solos at all with the removals of splits. So I think those are going to be safe.
I think they even said that they're only looking at like the higher tiers for that. The lower tiers were unaffected.
So the whole thing with that, like a lot of players are realizing that they're not actually losing anything. Like they're able to get their scores to where they need to be able to keep their box. And players are mostly placated and content as long as they're keeping their box. Obviously, most guilds should really look to increase the box by 1 or by 2 by the end of the raid, but people are happy if they don't lose their rewards. And we've been able to primarily do that even without the splits, and the splits will hopefully help. I do understand what you're saying with Hondo. I do get what you're saying with Hondo. I will thumbs down the video that you post tomorrow that says that. I will make a witty comment that tells you to go fuck yourself in the comments when you make that video tomorrow. I think you were onto something when you were talking about Lord Vader being really expensive and Jabba coming down in expensive, which you didn't talk about tonight. You've talked about it with me before, live and otherwise. I think you were onto something when you said, well, Ahsoka is really expensive and did not have a high adoption rate, so Hondo will not be as expensive. So I do think they are pulling out all the stops to try and make sure that the adoption rate is much higher. And I think it was Caleb in chat just a little while ago who was saying, as an endgame player, you you're going for the new thing regardless. Like if you're in the end game, you're going for Hondo just because there's nothing else to go
There's
for.
nothing else.
Exactly. So that's why you're going for Hondo. But they want to entice the mid game player to go for Hondo also. Whether or not that's a good decision, I have no idea. If it is, we don't have all the information. But they would rather entice the mid game player to go after something that's seemingly more expensive, resource wise and money wise, and have that player think, oh, yeah, this is a good idea and a good investment for me, rather than something that's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I 100% think we will see Hondo's require. I would be shocked if we see another Relic 9 on Hondo's requirements.
I would
actually
say
be shocked.
50-50 on 2. I would say definitely not 3 R9s.
I could see our like Relic 8. The reason I'm like, I was shocked enough when Ahsoka had 3.
Yeah.
And I just, because it was always this thing where you had Profundity had the Relic 9 requirement. And everybody's like, how come the GLs don't? And I'm like, I just always felt like it was a ship thing, because we're not going to make you farm 16 characters for ships, but we're gonna make you bleed through the nose in relics.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of like the way I always saw it. And so I think with Hondo, they're gonna more revert back to the Leia and Jabba, which if you look at those two GLs, the adoption rates there are actually insane.
Yeah.
Comparative to like they are crazy adoption rates. And I think a big reason for that, Smugglers Run, the Endor, but also they were Raid Galactic Legends. There was a lot of players who came into the game, and that was what you built. And I'm wondering if they're trying to relive that with Hondo a little bit. Because I think that
I'm still on the Pridia train. I think Ahsoka was meant for Pridia, and they screwed something up. And yes, that the GL are intended to be part of a raid, and I think that they even said that with Jabba.
I don't want to call this one a hot take. I think it's just probably where they screwed up with Ahsoka. Making Commander Tano part of her requirements is probably the biggest mistake that they made, because anybody below 4 million galactic power had to spend what, $50, $40? Right there, you've alienated spenders.
I'm listening, but my wife is pulling up, so please engage the audience here, and I'm going to go help her out.
So I was saying with I think with Ahsoka, where they really messed up is that they put a conquest character in her requirements. And I think that's a massive, massive problem, especially as we move forward, where you're looking at this character and you're like, when can I get Ahsoka? When can I get Ahsoka? And it's like, well, you've got to get to Proving Grounds. And then you've got to wait 17 months or spend all these crystals. And I think they quickly realized that the vast majority of the player base who was building this character are not the ones that they're hoping would, right? Like they know Egnards is going to have Ahsoka. They know Phatphil's going to have Ahsoka, but they want the mid-game player to have it. And I think they recognize that was not happening. And I think with Hondo, they're going to try to correct that. Now, I could be wrong there. We could be very wrong and we could see things change, but I 100% feel like Hondo is going to be a GL that will be a lot more. I hate using this term free to play accessible. Like free to play is such a broad term, and I think it's really poor, because I feel it's at times there's a guy in my Discord, Ethan Solo, who's free to play, who's in one of the largest guilds in this game. That term applies to him as free to play as much as it applies to someone who started their account today and isn't spending money. Free to play does not describe the size of your account. It simply describes whether or not you spend money. And so I think with Hondo, I try to say that it's player friendly, that it's friendly to the player base for not including conquest units and maybe not having as high of an entry gate in terms of the relics. So I would like to see that. So it's just one of those situations, guys, where I think you've got to think through all the variables that it's almost a good thing Ahsoka's getting the middle finger, and they're just like, all right, we're gonna make good with Hondo. That's almost the way I see it. Um, but that's just just some food for thought there. And I think even as we continue to look through this raid, continue to think about what's gonna come next. My hope would be that they look at some of the interactions and ensure that those tiers are right. Because I don't know if Egnards has noticed this in some, but like some of the tiers, there's no difference. Like when I take my clones to the Relic 9 tier, it feels harder than like the Relic 7 tier, but the Relic 5 tier does not feel any different than the Relic 7 tier. And that to me is a problem. Like it should be easier. And so you're like, why would I, you don't want to invest more when tiers don't feel the same.
We're talking about the raid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of saying like, I think Hondo's almost a little bit of a make good. Hondo's a little bit of like we screwed up with Ahsoka and we know it, and we're
You're
gonna
really
try to get
doubling
better
down on
on it.
this, huh?
I 100% think that almost sometimes we don't give them enough credit for how maybe in tune they are, and they just don't want us to know, because the more in tune they are, the more they're going to be able to squeeze us.
Do you say more into we don't give them enough credit as in you and I, or as in the community? Because I feel like I give them so much credit that people are in my PMs constantly calling me a shill.
The community, because I think
Okay.
I know
Right.
you, and even I would say I try to be like, they have an idea of what they're doing. They made a very conscious decision, and I don't want this to turn in, because I have like thoughts on why I think the Ahsoka Peridia raid was canceled. And I mean, I think I told you this. I think it all goes back to the speeder bike raid, but that's conspiracy theory 101.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about that I don't want to rehash, because I mean, I do disagree with you to some extent, but back and forth. We went back and forth that day. It was a fun conversation.
It was very fun. But I think they're trying almost to like make good and be like, all right, this needs to be a hit because people are kind of pissed off at us right now. Because I mean, this raid, even like the older Jedi Vanguard outside of the Keller and Beck, who still is relatively new, they're all kind of ass. Like that, like the loot, like they're ass. Like
Can I tell you though? I one of my guild mates was on a cruise this week, and he's a newer guild mate. He has a lower account, but he's highly motivated, and he does spend, and he will be caught up within the next year because of the amounts that he spends. And I volunteered. I said, "Listen, man, I if you want to give me your account, I'll do your TB for you, because I don't want us to get screwed over." And I actually ended up doing his conquest for him too, just because I was bored and at home. Half of his account is unmodded. I think he.
Oh my god!
I think he mods his. I think he remods constantly. He just doesn't have the mod depth. He bought a ton of Lightspeed bundles. I think he remods constantly, and if I'm on someone else's account, I don't want to touch their mods. I'm not touching them because I don't know what mod sets they have. I don't know what's going on. So even in like Conquest, I was finding myself doing battles. I won 5 battles with Night Sisters before I realized the entire team had 0 mods on them. But the reason that I bring this up is that on day 6, I did a battle with Jedi Master Mace Windu on Ring of Kafrene with 6 of 6 platoons with the Depa Omicron. And I was really excited to do this battle because I've heard like the Depa Omicron is really great. And it only went 1 for 2, so I got really pissed. But it went 1 for 2 with Temple Guard only having half of the mods on, Jedi Master Mace Windu having 0 mods on, Depa Balaba having 0 mods on, and somehow this team still went 1 for 2. So they're doing okay in some game modes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know mods are another. I mean, that's a whole other topic of like how I think that economy is not keeping pace with, I think, the demands of the game. And I will give them credit that they stopped the lunacy that the speeder bike raid was, where it was like, okay, you need a mix of for every bit of potency you get this, and
Oh my
tenacity you
god,
get this, and it's like,
so confusing.
this would be great if you had the UI in this game that I could easily switch mods back and forth, and this wasn't a problem. But
Yes.
that raid had too much ambition for utilizing mods that you don't have the tools in game for that to be a reality.
I go back and forth on this because I am a huge supporter of better modding tools in game. Huge. I've written multiple posts about it over the years. I am a champion of it. I have hot utils. I don't need it in game, but I recognize the majority of players do not have hot utils. However, I do struggle because people go, why don't they do it? Why don't they do it? And then I keep going back to, well, they don't do it because them offering mod switching to you is them being player friendly. They would prefer you to do 6 refreshes on mods. They would prefer you to buy mod packs. They would prefer you to have every character outfitted with good mods. So I do have a minor conspiracy theory that part of it is they don't want to make it easy because they want you to be annoyed enough. It's finding that sweet spot of just annoyed enough that you want to spend more, but not annoyed enough where you want to quit.
I don't remod for 90% of what I do. Like that was my whole Bad Batch raid video was predicated on the fact that Omega had no 6-stop mods and that everybody else is the mods I normally use on them. I also found out today my wrecker in that video, fun fact, did not even have a full complete like set of 3. I had 3 health mods and 3 defense mods.
Dumbass. What a dumbass.
Like, dude, I was so embarrassed. I almost wanted to take the video down, but I was like, this just further proves the point that you don't need good mods. Like
that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you spin it.
But you are right in they do want you to just have God mods on everybody. And that's why I said I think
God mods, like just above average, because God mods are hard to get.
But it is something that I'm like, their economy has not kept pace with the demand for the level of mods that they're requiring. And now there is a side of, okay, well, you don't need the mods on your Gungans that you used to have, so why don't you move them to your Bad Batch? But I'm not
doing that.
Yeah, like no.
I don't do
my
that.
Gungans mods. My Gungans mods have potency and protection on them. No.
My Gungans mods will stay on my Gungans, and just like my Rey mods, my Rey is modded like she was supposed to be modded 4 years ago. And her modding has changed in those 4 years, but I don't care enough to make that change. Ani in chat is saying, and I am monitoring chat, but there's only so much that I can comment on. The need to increase the cap on mods. And my thought with increasing the cap on mods is a couple of things. One thing that people don't understand is that every single mod is a unique item, right? Like 100% unique. It's almost like a unique string of numbers. So for every number they increase your mods by, that's 500,000 accounts with one extra mod. That is another thing the server needs to keep track of. I think that is a part of the reason why they haven't increased the mod cap. And I do think that increasing the mod cap itself on its own is just a band-aid, because then you're just going to be at 999 of 1,000. Or
then I'm just complaining that I don't have enough mods again.
Yeah, in a week.
Deleting older. Yeah, I'm not deleting my older mods.
The one thing I do think that they should do, because yes, there is an issue with when you want to mod switch, whether it's through hot utils or through their modding in game. The one issue is that if you are near your mod cap, you have a problem with moving mods. I do think that there should be like almost like an encumbrance in game. You know, like in RPG games, you have 100 weight, but if you go over that 100 weight, you can do that, but you walk slower. I do think that every account should maybe have like 50 slots above 500 where you can't get new mods. They'll go to your mailbox, but you can use those slots for moving mods. So if you're at 500 of 500, you can still take off a mod in order to move it to another character with like 50 temporary slots to do that.
That's actually a very good idea, because it is so frustrating when it's like, you can't move that mod back, and I freak out. And
It's annoying.
but
It's very annoying.
and I've said that the only thing they would do, they don't have to change my mod cap. All they need to do is put a button in game that says save all of these mods.
Yes.
The loadouts, the amount of loadouts need updated, because you can only have like 200 some odd loadouts or whatever. Like, you don't get enough loadouts.
That is ridiculous that there's not enough, because one thing that people don't realize, if you don't have hot utils, you know, for the people with hot utils who have never had to do this, I didn't have hot utils for a very long time. In order to efficiently move mods, you need a mod loadout for every single character who you could possibly move a mod from or to, because you need to remember their base mods. So when I didn't have hot utils, every single character at Relics had a mod loadout. And anytime I was gonna move a mod, I had to save and get rid of a mod loadout and resave it, because, you know, you never know if you've changed a mod in the last 6 months. The fact that there are now going to be 300 characters in the game and you can only have 250 loadouts it's rough. It is very rough, because it is the only way you can move mods effectively, is to have every one of those sets.
Looking at my base mod set loadout sheet right now of all the potential characters that I could like move their mods around, and it just makes me so sad. Because
If I didn't have hot utils, I would not be moving mods around at all anymore. And I would not be getting the raid score that I do right now, because I do have to move mods around in order to get exactly to the right targets for certain compositions. And I just would be like, no, not doing it, because it is. I remembered having to do it in the LSTB days. There were some battles that I had to move mods around for, and it was a pain in the ass, because you'd have to move them and then move them back, because you had to do conquest the next morning. Then you'd have to move them back again, because you have your TB battles for phase 2. Then you have to move it back again, and it was the worst.
So I'm trying to think of the things I do move mods for. So I remod my Tarkin for the raid.
Yeah.
That's right now, that's the only character I have to remod for the raid. Because I don't do the net, even though I can do the nest solo, I don't have to remod Hondo for the raid. That's an easy solo, and I can use the dog shit Vanguard on like the lowest tier and get 300,000. So that takes care of like what nest would do.
Really pushing
the
the boundaries
Braca mission.
there.
Yeah, the Braca mission, I have to do that because I don't have the Omicron for Cal, so I have to remod there. And
I think most people remod for that, because even with the Omicron, the way that you need the modding for that mission is different than the modding that you would normally put on those characters. So like I have 2 of the Omicron. Well, one of them's irrelevant because it's the leadership, but I still remod for it.
And then I have I don't remod for the clone mission. My clone mods are good enough, and the Night Sister mission, I don't need to remod for that now, because it's good enough.
In Road, the only thing I remod for is Braca.
Yeah, I think that I was trying to. In the last raid, I was having to remod Sidious, Newt, and all that crap, but It's definitely, I will say, I've noticed it get easier. Like, I was remodding the Queen Amidala team for the
Hmm.
longest time at the Relic 9 tier, but then I got R2D2 to Relic 9 for Leia on Ring of Kafrene, and all of a sudden I didn't have to remod because R2 was
Was
giving them
making
extra
up for it
stats,
with
and
the
that was,
stats.
yeah. So I will say I have noticed some instances where it's like, oh, if I add Relic levels, I don't have to remod as much. But I'm
Uh,
also putting
yeah.
stupid mods on people
And
at
that's another
times.
thing too, where they go, oh, like they want to encourage you to do, because a lot of people do that. They go, if I put this extra relic level on, I don't have to remod. I'm gonna put that extra relic level on to save, myself time and energy. Right now, I remod for Braca, and I remod 3 teams for the raid. Well, actually, I remod 4 teams for the raid, but 2 of those teams are in the same loadout. But it's through hot utils, so it's so much easier. It does it for me, and I will cry when that is gone, if that is ever gone.
And is that a team? Are those teams you're undermanning, like the clones and stuff? Or
That's like my clone split. They both need it. My Bad Batch are just not modded correctly for it, so they need it. And then I can do the Keller and Beck team at R7, but it takes a lot of luck. So remodding it kind of takes that luck away from it. So I do
yeah,
that.
I was curious with my Bad Batch. I said when I was doing my run, because I went like 30 minutes. I got like 3 successful attempts, and I was like, okay, like we're not just gonna go with one, because I was like, I get annoyed sometimes when I'm watching a video and you're like, okay, I'm not getting any of the luck, or like my stuff's not happening this way. So I was like, if I do it 3 times, there's no way I'm gonna get it the same way each time. But I was like, if I remodded my Bad Batch, I guarantee I get this a lot more consistently. But I was purposefully trying to like nerf myself because everybody yells at me whenever I do anything with mods, because I just throw like Supreme Leader Kylo Ren and raise
Yeah,
mods on people. And
of
what do you
course.
mean you
And
don't have a what do you mean you don't have a set like that that gives
what do
you,
you mean you don't
you
have a whole set with plus 27 speed on them? How could you
know,
not?
what
Though
do
I
you mean
will
you don't have a
say,
critic? What do you mean you don't have a 7% offense, 28 speed? You know, like that. How do you not?
though, I know some people in the raid server and in my server and the event server were saying things like, oh, even at like 4 or 5 million, you should have at least one set of god mods. So it shouldn't be an issue. But, I think the thing that those people need to remember is, one, there is some randomness to whether or not you get god mods or not. And two, you need multiple sets. It's not just, oh, I have 5 sets, I have 5 characters worth, because some characters need a speed set, some need an offense set, some need a potency set, some need a crit avoidance arrow with 25, some need a health arrow with plus 25 speed. When you have 8 years, 9 years, 10 years in the game, you have so many options where you are bound to have that set. When you are more in the early mid game, you may just have a speed set or 2 that has that greatness to it that you can kind of put together.
I, I try to encourage people in my farming plans that you actually don't want god mods early, because the amount of resources you have to spend to get there, you'll be better off. You'll end up with almost better mods going, okay, I'm going to stop at like blue every single time.
Can
Because to
we
get
can we
purple,
amend can we amend your statement, because your statement is stupid.
oh, go ahead.
Your statement is you don't want god mods. What your statement should be is you don't want to hunt for god mods.
Yes.
Nobody should be mad that they got a really good mod. You just don't want to
Correct. Yes.
prioritize it. And I agree with that.
Yeah. Like, I hate when I see somebody, I see it all the time. And I'm not trying to pick on people and be like, oh, I hate when I see a 4 million GP account with a star killer that's like, oh, my star killer is modded better than Phil's or than Arnold's or than, Pimpo's or than
Yeah.
Egnards. And then I'm like, okay, go to your next character.
And
And
there's
then it's
nothing.
like Yeah. And I'm not saying that as like I'm jealous of your Star Killer. Like I just sometimes if I get annoyed at somebody, I just go put better mods on my Star Killer and then I'm like, look
Yes,
now.
I would agree with you. And this is actually the conversation I had with that guildmate who half of his roster is empty of mods. And he's on a cruise right now. His Wi-Fi is not great. I get to talk to him like once every 3 days at this point. But I said, listen, man, our goal right now, your goal right now is you're looking for perfect mods to put on everybody. What you need to do is find mediocre mods to outfit everybody.
Yeah.
And then start upgrading those mods. Because right now, you're losing in GAC, you're having trouble in TB, you have to remod every day in order to do well in the raid. You would be so much more effective if everybody had a set and then you work on a really good mod and you roll that down 12 different characters and you go, all right, that goes to here, that goes to here, that goes to here, that goes to here. And so our focus, and I said to him, is we're just like, while I have your account this next week, I'm just putting an arrow on every one of your, like the correct arrow on every one of your characters. Like that's my job right now because it pains me to see a 12 million account that half of the account has 0 mods on it because you just want perfect mods. And that's just not how the game works.
I'm going to cry that you just basically talked about my trickle down modding method.
I'm so sorry.
I've taught you so well. I've taught you so well.
Have you though? Have you?
I try. No. No, but you're right. Like the minute you start worrying about that perfect mod, you've already lost.
Yes.
Like I try to your account and my account are in spots where like I can try to find that perfect mod.
Of course.
Because
yes.
I also have a million, I shouldn't say a million, but I have mediocre mods on literally everybody. There's not a single character in my account that does not. If they can have mods on them, they have mods.
Absolutely.
And some of them are like, oh, if I slice this up, it could turn out really, really good. So there's even a degree of there's potential there, right? But that's what you want. You don't, if you're constantly trying to like, I'm not going to buy XYZ, like if you need mods, you just need to buy them. I always say your first step is just having mods. Don't worry about if it's the perfect mod. You need it for someone. And you might need it a week from now. You might need it a year from now.
Yes. Now, our accounts are in different place, so I handle things differently. But the only reason I handle things differently is because, like you, I have mods on everybody, right? So when I have a new marquee, for example, and I don't know if I've even put mods on Athano yet. No, I haven't yet. I haven't even looked at him. Maybe I'll start doing that tomorrow. Because I know he's useless to me right now, I am going to look for perfect mods for him. Or not perfect, but like the right secondary and primary and enough speed where it's like mediocre and worth working on, because I don't need him. I have 4 months until he's useful to me. So I'm going to spend the time building that mod out, but I can do that because all of my characters have mods, because I have that modding depth, right? Where like this is all there and I don't have to worry about it. People who are not in that position, just get something on there.
Yeah.
Even if it has +3 speed, get something on there and you can work your way backwards as you continue down the downline.
I always say, like, I remember when it just was have speed.
Yes.
And then I remember getting to the point where it's like, okay, it needs to be above like 5 speed.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, I need to get above 8 speed. And, you keep moving up the line to where like now I got like an 18 speed cross the other day for something. And I'm like, I don't know who to put this on. I was like, I don't know who to put this on. It doesn't even have good enough stats to replace, it just has to go on somebody. And I like picked it out, but it was like, your account eventually gets to these points where your mods you'll start to see like, I need to get a little bit pickier.
Yes.
But don't get there too early. if I go to a single character on your account that doesn't have mods, you're not allowed to be picky. You just have to put them on
Yes,
there.
you need to get something on there. Like you say with the mods, like I have a downline, like I have mod filters. Where are they? And
You have some very extensive mod filters.
I have very extensive mod filters, and I have a whole like downline system that I go through. And then I speed check it at the end, and I go, oh, hey, what did I earn that's worth looking at right this second? And you see, like you said, with this plus 18 speed mod, I have a defense mod that has been sitting for 6 months that has plus 18 speed on it. I just don't know who to put it on. And I'm sure a tank will come in that needs that mod, but it's going to sit there until that happens because, first world problems. That's what it is.
I often say too, because I know we're on modding, so now I can go off for the next 15 years. But I always joke my biggest pet peeve with modding is when someone sends a picture of a mod to me with like decent, like good speed, and they're like, "Who do I put this on?" And then you look, and it's like a, tenacity mod defense primary, and I'm like,
nobody.
You never should have bought this mod. Like if you, and I always say the way, and I know this is hard for other people, but the way I can look at a mod and just be like, I know 5 characters I could put this on right now. And if I can't do that, I'm not buying it because the chances of it being like, oh, this would be a good mod for Fennec. And then none of the stats roll that Fennec wants. And so I just have to sell it. But if I can find 5 or 6 characters who could benefit from it, I've got a better chance of finding a, possible match. Like I have mods that have no speed, like I shouldn't say no speed rolls because they have speed, but they don't have any extra rolls on them. Like my Sith Trooper has like 16% defense, 5 speed on him. Sith Empire Trooper just sitting there slow as nothing.
With a lot of those tanks like that, you don't really need it. It's nice if you have it, but it's not super important. I know a lot of people like Quercetan run him slow because it's a pain in the ass when he gets his damage immunity, and he doesn't take a turn, and you're on the enemy team just going like, oh my god, stop, just go, just frickin' go. So for a tank, I can definitely see that sometimes being the case, and kind of what you want to do. Molly, from my mod filters, I have a mod filter video that shows my mod filters. And I'm not the modding guru. I don't want to say a student because I don't pay attention to anything Phil says, but if you want more prominent modding advice, he definitely delves into it a lot more than I do.
I would say your mod filters though was, I think, much more helpful for people. They just have, because I feel like with my advice is, I would argue like I'm not going to tell you what filters to use because I don't even use filters when I'm looking at a mod. I can just like stare at it in the store and realize if it's like decent or not. But I think your filters are really helpful because a lot of players, they're accumulating mods. Like as soon as I get mods in my inventory, I'm upgrading them and selling them. Like I don't ever have a lot of mods at one time that need sold or anything else. So I feel like that's where I liked that because I remember I watched those. I remember you were showing me some of the filters, and I was like, no, that is actually really helpful. Like that makes sense. Because somebody was once asking me like, what filters do I use? And I'm like,
I always love that when people like message me about things they think I know about, or like people will send me math and they'll be like, oh, look at my spreadsheet. And I'll go, that's cool. Like it is, but 2 things. Number 1, and I've said this to you before, someone else's spreadsheet, when you're not designing it for the public to look at, it's like a foreign language. It's whatever's going on in your brain, and no one else can understand it. And 2,
you think I sent? So I send mine to you.
You do. You send me yours, and I go, I don't know what's going on here. Because yours, like when I make a spreadsheet, most of the time it's built for public. It's built with the idea of people are going to look at this. When you make a spreadsheet, it's built for you to do a video and explain it to people. But then you send it to me, and I go, I need the Phil video because I don't know what's going on here. But then two, they'll ask me about my spreadsheets, and I'm like, I do everything on feeling. I do everything on vibe. I do everything on like basic like napkin math, in my head math. I don't time things down to the day. You just, after years of doing it, you have like this vibe for it, and you have this intuition for it's going to take me this long. It's going to take me that long.
I I so that yeah, I say this a lot that it's like my is it worth it or not, or like like my signal data drops. I have this spreadsheet where it's like, how long will it take me to get 100 signal data out of the cantina? And I
Yeah.
go through like all the potential, like, okay, if you get one per day and you do refreshes, and it breaks it down like that. And I have on there highlighted the Phatphil estimate for white signal data and green signal data and blue signal data. And somebody was like, did you do like the math behind that to know if it's accurate? And I'm like, no, that's just kind of what I guess. And it's like 4 for blue, like 8 for green, and like 11 for white. And I'm like, it's close enough that it's probably right. You know, you go up or
It's
down one, it doesn't change a lot. Like,
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people are looking for an exact date, but there is some RNG involved. And that's why, like, yeah, when I do a public consumption thing, I'm doing the most exact math possible, because normally I'm talking about cost analysis. But when I'm talking about timelines for myself, I'm typically not getting into the minutia of days unless I'm racing against the clock for a journey guide. In which case, yes, then it matters, and then I am gonna like break down the days of how things work. But otherwise, I'm very as minimal effort as possible whenever I can put in that minimal effort for basically anything in the game. The thing that I think a lot of players don't keep that they don't understand. Yes, people like you and I, we spend a lot of time interacting with the game. In the game, out of the game, talking to people on Discord about the game, sitting at work, and it's going through our brain like we're thinking of ideas for things in our brain, like it is a constant just nightmare. So any 5 minutes I can take back from the game, I'm taking back from the game.
I found it very funny. You said like you don't get into the minutia, because I have a guildmate who almost over analyzes costs to like, especially I think with a free to play, they get very much into the crystal cost. They just
Yeah.
get so like laser focused on crystal cost. And I'm like, well, what about your time?
Hmm.
What about like okay, you're only gonna spend 1,000 crystals where I spent 1,500, but you spent 30 days and I spent 10 days.
Yes.
Now, and that's just it. Where I feel a lot of times I had to learn that lesson the hard way, where it's like, no, sometimes time is kind of valuable. Where it's okay to spend a little bit, like crystal wise. It's okay to not be the most efficient with crystals if you're being more efficient with your time. And I think that's like the hardest equation I think players struggle with, is they get so bogged down as a free to play of starting to value like the credits they're going to get on a node, or the minute gear, and you're like, stop. That's not
Yes.
why you're doing like that.
Yes.
You know, and we've
I
talked
see
about
it.
that before.
I see it a lot on the event server where people go, "Oh, you only do only the refreshes on this because it's the most, it's the cheapest way to get X material." Okay, but what if I need that material in 3 days, and it's going to take me 10 days to get that material your way? Time. Look, what is it? Lincoln Park. Time is a valuable thing, right? Like that's to quote the late great Chester. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that, and even when it comes to like gearing things, I've never been, like I used to see this on Reddit where people would say, "Oh, I finally beat the gas event. It only took me 400 tries and 6 days of my life, and my girlfriend left me and my kids ran away, but I did it with all G12 characters." At what cost? Like I am you fucking moron. I am going to put gear on my characters, and I am going to do it in as few tries as possible because I want to go do something else with my time.
But it's like the Ewok event, for
Yeah.
like C3PO.
Back in
It
the
is
day. Yep.
so funny the first time anybody does that. And it's like everybody was like, that's the hardest event. That's the hardest event. And I'm like, it is one of the easiest. We all just refuse to take our Ewoks above like gear 8.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes. And
it
all
was,
of the
I never
Lightspeed
forget.
bundle players right now who are listening to this, they're like, "What do you mean? Nessa does it for me. It's so easy."
Like, no, go watch. I have a video of me doing it like with and without her of just how insanely different it is. But I remember before she came out, somebody in my Discord ran the like, oh, did you cheat on XYZ event? And my Ewok score was in like the 80% of I probably cheated because my gear was so low.
That it
Like
just they're like,
now,
"Yes."
yeah, and now it's like, oh, Phil did this 100% because I have a Relic 7 Nessa that just solos it by herself.
Yeah, it was that, and the Chewbacca event was also just
Oh,
so tough because nobody wanted to relic. I mean, actually, it came out before relics, but by the time most
yeah.
people were doing it, they had like an R5 Bosk. Um, but no one wanted to relic any of the other bounty hunters because there was no reason to relic your other bounty hunters at that point. And relics were very expensive. So yes, I did it with just the R5 because I did not get Chewbacca on the first run through. Um, and I didn't have the materials to relic all of those useless guys. But whenever I can, I am going to put gear on characters. Anytime I can because
It,
my time.
it, I remember I'm trying like so I did a lot of stuff. So when I left the game for a while and I came back in like April of 2020. I came back prime COVID. And so I had the journey guide was now a thing. Ray and Kylo were a thing. I was using like a Traya team. And so but I had all this like really good stuff. Like I had like Geonosians, like the older Geos already geared up to like 8 or whatever because I, was like playing the game and I wasn't a moron. And the funniest thing was I went and did like all these journey guide events that I was like the Chewbacca bounty hunters event. I had bounty hunters, so I just was able to start like getting Chewbacca. I could try the Padme event, and it was just really funny where I was spending all these tries because I didn't have any relics, I didn't have any of the like good stuff yet, and like finally getting through them. And then I like went back after a little bit and I had a few relics and I did the events and I like hated my life because it was so stupid.
That was a really great story. Are you telling
Thank
me?
you.
Are you telling me that you caused COVID?
Um, no, my friend did. No. my one my one buddy had to travel over to like China like a year before COVID, but we just said that he was the reason for it.
He's patient zero.
Yeah.
I wish that I could like some people could understand those days and how much I remember the first time I spent money on this game. It was like Thanksgiving of probably of 2019 actually. So right before COVID. And I remember spending like $50 and it got my Jedi Knight Anakin to Relic 7. That's it. And he was like one of 3 relics that I had at the time. And I was just so pumped. Like
Only
so
50
pumped.
bucks for a relic. Only 50 bucks for a relic 7 is crazy.
It was just so ridiculous. And I was excited for it. I was like, wow, I got this great deal. Like my team is gonna be so good now. My
Yep.
my Revan team. People don't understand, and I think we can kind of full circle this. The game is in a much better place, I think, and in a much healthier place. And while yes, they are trying to make more money, they're trying to make less money per purchase per person, while making more money overall. And can they do better? Sure. But overall, I'm happy with that aspect of the game and where it is, but I do obviously have my criticisms, and my pendulum swings back and forth where one day people are calling me a shill, and now in the last couple of weeks, the majority of what I have posted has been pretty critical of CG.
It's I think the game now, I would argue that the thing they're gonna struggle with the most is the rate at which characters are coming out
Yeah.
and the time it takes to farm them is not conducive to how long that character is a part of the meta. That even as a endgame episode pass spender, I very rarely ever get that top tier new character while their focused Datacron is a thing. Or like I had Ahsoka's Datacron for a little bit, but like I don't get the, Mace, or like whenever they have their Datacron, I normally always miss that boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You miss the peak of the powers. And I'm not saying that everything should just be focused on the Datacrons, but that's kind of like even I'm behind when that character was at their peak, and I'm much closer to that than other players who they get their Ahsoka for the first time and then realize they need to get Ezra. And the
Though
disappointment that goes with that.
the one thing with those focused Datacrons is, or just Datacrons in general, is they are cyclical, and we see them return. Like we just saw the Sidious one return, we saw an Afra one return, and then we got an Afra focused one. So you do get them kind of pop back into the meta after a while. Whether or not a character stays relevant, I think, is one part the character and the team, and one part what CG decides to do afterwards. Like Naboo is gone, but the Quadmate team is still a mainstay of GAC defense. The raid is gone. The Gungans are kind of now a B team. Outside of a Datacron, they're kind of relegated to the sidelines if there isn't a Datacron. We'll probably see the same thing with this raid. When this raid is gone, Lord Vader and his clones will probably stay pretty relevant because Lord Vader is a GL. Will Jedi Master Mace Windu? Maybe not as much.
Yeah, I think Mace, I'm not sure yet. I feel like he's the word I've heard. The word I've heard. From what I've heard, he seems to be a little bit more of a disappointment than a like Gungans. Gungans, I have to say, I've been waiting to tell you this in person. I actually have gotten way more use out of my Gungans than I ever thought I would, because of all of the like separatist Datacrons and droid Datacrons
Yeah.
we've had over the past. Like, so everyone's putting General Grievous and Trench on defense, and I'm loving life because my Gungans are just like an automatic win.
Because yeah. And again, it has to do with the Datacrons that are out and what gets seen and what gets sent. It's just, I kind of like the cyclical nature of that, where things fall into and out of the meta. I think one thing with Jedi Master Mace Windu, he is clearly a TW focused character on his own. And I know people still do feel he's underpowered there. I think the struggle that we have, and we've fallen for this trap a lot, is where we see a kit and we read that kit and we go, this is insane. But once we see that kit in action, we go, oh, there's a lot more that's beating it than we thought would. And we saw that with the clones. People had some issues with things that could beat them. We're seeing that with Jedi Master Mace Windu. We saw that with Ahsoka. We thought she was going to be this powerhouse with a lot of her moves, and she hits like she's slapboxing a 6-year-old. We saw it with Leviathan, when even outside of Leviathan's bugs, thinking, oh, it's going to be this, and that, and it clearly does have counters. It's still the strongest ship, arguably, but we look at the kit itself and only the kit, and when it actually shows up and is in practice and we see how it works out, it's not as great.
Yeah, it's.
Uh,
I'm curious if they will look at Hondo more carefully than they looked at Mace.
Well, Hondo being a GL, I think is, it's going to be a little bit different than Mace, and I do think Hondo is going to be stronger, but are they going to make the same mistake with Hondo that they did with Ahsoka and really tie his power to a conquest character? Now, the nice thing is that that conquest character will be a pirate, which means that it won't really have another home versus,
Yes.
Ahsoka and Hezra, where Hezra, any good light side character just goes under Rey.
Yeah. Well, but isn't Maz is going to be a support light side unit?
Correct. So as SM-33 is probably going to go with Han. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't, and I saw somebody say this earlier in chat. They were like, I feel like they should have put Maz out first.
Yes.
And then put Smee out second. And it's like, yep. Which this all goes into, I just think that they had a plan. And then I don't know if what changed or what went on, but something went awry there that completely threw a wrench in everything.
It is a huge thing, and this is something a week and a half ago I had a big discussion with Pico about with the cadence on that. Smee coming to the game in a week, who gives a shit? He doesn't have a team. Even if you wail on the pirates that are currently out, they're not his intended team. His intended team isn't even going to start being farmable for another month. It just doesn't make sense. Whereas if Maz was coming out in a week, a lot of people maybe wouldn't care because they don't have the marquees yet, but at least you could start building the squad in some way.
Yeah.
It just seems really weird the way that they have shifted this. And you know what? It could have been a developmental thing. It could have been we wanted Maz to come out first, but there were bugs in the kit. We couldn't figure it out. We didn't know what was going on. We had to change it. We don't know.
Yeah. I'm wondering too if it was like we need to get, like, if Smee is going to be the one who goes with Hondo, we need to figure out what's the wording I want to use here. We need to make sure that everything is fine with him.
Yeah.
And we're okay with Maz kind of, all right, we'll figure out the bugs at a later time. That's another just like, oh, is that, again, I don't know. I don't have information to meathead to tell me what is and isn't going to happen. Like
we could
somebody
ask him. He's on Discord right now. He'll ignore me. No, I don't like to bother him during non-work hours. That's rude. Nobody's calling you up for accounting questions at 11 o'clock.
They know to call somebody smarter than me.
I try to keep a professional boundary in that regard.
But no, it is a good point of like, at what point was there something that went wrong that they're having to fix, or was this kind of always the intended plan and that they were intending for Itano's lead to be better than it is? Because it sounds like they're already gonna have to fix it. And I think I don't know if you and Pico talked about that.
Quique.
Yeah, Pico. I don't know if you guys talked about that with that buff of the Itano lead, how they're like, oh, we're gonna buff it, but not until the other two pirates are here.
Now, I have two questions for you. The first, can you confirm for me that it's Itano? Because there's a TH. So
they never said his name in the movie. I just go with Itano because I feel like Ethano just would
I'm
be too
just
much like Thanos.
so I don't know if you know how English works, but there's a th right
I
there, and that th
I'm aware.
makes a sound. And when something makes a sound, we say ethano, kind of like Ibiza. Um, just food for thought. The
Trying to see if
sec,
they tell us. Do they give us the pronunciation in Wikipedia?
I don't know. The second question that I had for you, I forgot because I was too busy embarrassing you.
Hey,
So,
dude, if you think I call it. You say. Have you ever noticed I say era and not era?
yeah, your era, tomato, 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 potato, potato.
But yeah,
I do think it is
but
weird though. Like, it is silly to me that his lead does almost nothing, and they're just like, "Oh, we thought it would be better.
and
Oops,
it's like,
our bad."
yeah, I'm like, you did not think it would be better. This is very purposefully done.
Yes,
You're like, let's just call it how it is. This is very purposefully done. Like, we don't want this lead. We don't want a Jedi Knight Revan situation on our hands.
yes,
So yeah, I found that interesting, but I was like, I really wonder if Maz was supposed to be the first one because they normally were much more. I feel like in the past we've gotten the conquest information long before with this iteration with Smee. I felt like we did not get it that far in advance compared to like we already know Maz is coming and
yeah.
she's
Well, for a very long time, we didn't get any information until like 4 days ahead of time. And I think it started around DS Ray was announced really early. I don't remember the first one that was announced really early, but within the last year, they started announcing them like really early. I think Hezra might have been the first one because people were like, wait, this conquest isn't even over. Why are you announcing Hezra already?
oh yes, yeah.
And then by the time the Hezra conquest came out, we were like, we don't even remember his kit because like we were so busy unlocking the guy before him.
Which that was he right before was he after Luthen?
I want to say yes, but I honestly I couldn't tell you, um, because I don't like remember all
I
of
don't
those
track
things.
I couldn't it's funny if somebody was like name every single conquest unit since existence. I'm like that I could do it,
Hmm.
but it would take me a little bit to like rack my brain and I'm like I would probably forget somebody. I
Yeah.
like there's been enough of them that I'm like I would forget someone.
No, I couldn't. I don't even try. Um, what is this? Since Bo, they've been given more notice. Since Bo, they've been given. I don't know. I don't know. Um, what I am gonna say is I think we are hitting midnight and we are just grasping at straws at this point,
Yep.
and we are
Just tell me to
talking.
shut up.
I don't want to say in circles, but I think we are talking for the sake of talking at this point, and we are harassing these people into listening to us. Um, I am disappointed in your yawn counter, which I only got to 3. I noticed that your yawns have been pretty short tonight, so I'm sure there's a few that I missed.
I just am good at getting better at covering them.
What I am going to say is with Twitch, I see that Zareth is on. And I have a very specific thing I'm going to ask those of you on Twitch to do, because he's the only other person on right now. So we'll raid into Zareth on Twitch. Zareth ghosted me for the Gungies last year. So those of you who are on Twitch with us, when we raid in, I want like a Gungies 2026 message in there. because I would like to not be ghosted this year, so we can get everybody involved. But is there anything else you want to leave them with, Phil?
It's gonna sound so weird coming from me. We need to be I think we as a community are we're a great community to each other. But if there's one thing we oftentimes rally behind, it's we can all hate on CG. And I think we need to be still a little bit patient because I have a feeling that they are trying to get the game in a much better position. I think they've been in a tailspin since the launch of Naboo. And again, you guys know if you watch me that I felt like that whole raid has kind of been so let them get this raid out before we pass judgment because I feel like everybody's already anti everything Order 66 and it actually is a pretty fun raid. I understand the teams aren't in the game. That's a whole other issue entirely. But it is a pretty fun raid. It's an improvement from Naboo. It's an improvement from Speeder Bike. It's an improvement from Crate. And I feel we need to be giving them some credit for that. So be patient with them. I'm going to try to get better because I know I'm like the biggest proponent of grab your pitchforks and torches.
Well,
so
if Phil says it, if Phil is telling you to be patient, hey. For those of you who don't know Phil, which is kind of impossible, considering he's 8 times bigger than me, make sure to head over to his page and unsubscribe, because he's going
and then
to
resubscribe.
Yeah, sure. Then resubscribe right afterwards. Make sure tomorrow when he posts his hot take about the Pirates being the most free-to-play friendly thing about this raid.
I don't know that I'm going to use most. I was using this as my test audience, and then I get to perfect it for tomorrow.
You're like a comedian.
Egnards told me what to say. my publicist.
Please don't like that video because we don't need that out in the world. But do comment on it. But yes, do give it some engagement, just not positive engagement. So again, we are going to raid out on Twitch to Gambit Podcast, and I want every one of you to give him a Gungees message, a Gungees 2026 support message as one of the only major creators who did not participate and ghosted me. Sungjita, I did talk to last year. He did not participate, but he had reasons that are his own, and I respect that. Zareth ghosted me, and I don't like that. So don't be mean, don't be rude. Just support messages. With that said, guys, I guess peace out, and look for 3 videos from Phil tomorrow, sometime around noon to 1 p.m., around the time when he typically posts his bad takes.